You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John.
Crap on my desk.
I do too. I've got no room at all. I mean, that's part of the fun, right? These
have just a bunch of stuff,
manuals all over the place. But how's the other podcast going? I haven't listened to the most recent episode, but
no, good. Yeah, we're probably, I think, 4 episodes away from the end.
Nice.
We just recorded 15, 16, I think. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Getting a lot of creativity out with that one.
Yeah. That one, Devin's great. He's a great DM.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys really know your material for Star Wars, and that's really cool.
I'm less so. I don't really I know the actual the movies and all that, but I never read any of the books. I played games. I mean, I played the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter and all that, but never really fucked with any of the extra extended universe stuff.
No, I haven't either, actually. I think I've only played the first 2 Battlefronts, and that's about it. But yeah, enjoyable.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to see how this one resolves.
Yeah. Which one just? Oh, yeah. So the next episode's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And then, it gets wacky.
Well, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But today we are doing something a little bit different, aren't we? We're not going to cover a soundtrack. We are actually just going to reminisce a little bit.
Talk a bunch of old farts talking about
unhappy
how it used to be better.
Yeah, how things used to be. We've reached that ripe old age of when I was young. So,
yep.
But no, we discussed it kind of offhandedly, and we decided we're gonna talk about some of our favorite booklets that came with games, because you know what, they just don't do it anymore, and it sucks.
Yep. Yeah, I said this to Mike. The worst thing about not having manuals is that every single game infantilizes you and teaches you how to move the camera. And you're like, and you have to go through the tutorial.
Yep.
You have to learn how to move the camera the way they want you to move the camera. And it's like, if I had a manual, I could just throw this away.
Even though these games have been around for 20 years, at least, for 3-dimensional RTS and stuff like that. But,
it's crazy.
they want you to learn how to jump and strafe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fire your gun. But yeah, it's really a lost art, I think. The video game manuals were so engrossing a lot of the times, especially with RPGs and things like that. But I don't even have an RPG. I have one RPG booklet that I wanted to showcase today, and the rest are action games or horror games. And it kind of blows my mind when I was looking at it. It's like, wow, they put so much effort to create these worlds and give the players a sense of what's happening and what you're in for. And they spent a lot of time designing these things to look cool. They're hefty. They're maybe 50 pages sometimes. And it's just fun stuff. And I just wanted to spend an episode and just talk about how times used to be better, and how when you buy a game nowadays, it's just a plastic case and a disc, and it really sucks.
Well, I guess for console games, but even for PC games, that's not the case anymore. You don't get anything.
Yeah, that's true. It's even worse.
Yeah, and in my case, what I have in front of me are mostly flight simulators, because that's just what I had left over. But I think the manual having lore in it is such a lost art, because you want a game that gets you into the action quickly, that is fun and engaging right away. And oftentimes you can't do that without like some sort of exposition.
Yeah.
But if you have a game that maybe doesn't rely so much on the plot. It's still a fun game. You can play it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to learn more, you could read through the booklet and learn the plot and maybe, oh, this is what that guy was. And this is why he's, an enemy or whatever, why he's important to the plot. So it's a great way of like extending your game enjoyability beyond just the 2D pixels on screen.
Absolutely. And I used to take some manuals to school every day and just look at them on downtime. And I was a big sketcher when I was a young person. I've unfortunately gotten away from it. I kind of want to get back to it, but I used to sketch characters constantly at school, and I would use my instruction manuals for that at a minimum. But other than that, I would read about the game that I had just bought, and I was super excited to play it when I got home from school or something. And they just helped immerse you in the games themselves a lot of times. And there's one right here that I've got. It's called, I don't know if you can see that, Siberia. It's an old DOS game, CD-ROM, just coming out. It was like 1994. And it was this weird puzzle game. You played this character who, he was like you'd like him. You'd play him in one of your games probably. He was a techie. He was a criminal who the government had gotten out of jail to help take down some sort of crime syndicate, because there's this this special technology and they're using it, and the government wants it. And so they bust you out of jail and promise you, they'll kind of turn a blind eye to your past if you help them do this. And he's this big IT guy. He's a nerd. He can hack a bunch of systems, but the game itself is a mixture of first-person exploration and third-person exploration. In the middle of all that, you fly this jet. It's a flight sim for like 7 or 8 levels.
That's sick.
And you're just traveling from location to location, blowing shit out of the sky. And you're going to this secret compound. And when you get there, it's like in the middle of the mountains. It's icy. It's cold. And the game is really short, but it just has so much background to it. And this book is chock full of documents and discussions, like a Michael Crichton novel, of everything leading up to your release from prison. And it's just so cool. It's so fun. It's made by Interplay. They were one of my favorite companies up until they got bought out. But yeah, it's just this whole booklet is barely about the game play and more just about this.
Lore.
This is the lore of the world you're about to dive into. And
that's great.
It's a very cool book. This one's only 24 pages, but still, that's 24 pages of stuff they didn't need to do. And I just thought that was so cool. It's always been one of my favorite booklets. And for such a short game, it's even more impressive that they took the time to do it. Is it highly detailed? Probably not. If I were to read through it again, it would probably be pretty pedestrian at points. But it's still fun. It's
still scratch that itch.
Yeah.
Well, less lore heavy and more textbook, but it's just such a great thing. I have one of the original Microsoft Flight Simulator game manuals.
That thing is thick.
Yeah, it's let's see, where's the page? 200 pages.
Wow.
Including some airfield maps.
Jesus.
Yeah, if you need to know how to do an Immelman, there you go. Full power stalls, attitude flying. It's just literally, it's like a flight manual.
Wow.
Like a cut down pilot's manual handbook.
That is nuts.
For Microsoft Flight Sim. And I have the box that it came in. What was this? 1988, replete with actual sectionals, like
oh wow,
cut down sectionals for
like landscape.
Yeah, it says this is Seattle area.
Wow.
With like airports and VOR.
That is so cool.
Radios and all that stuff. It's just it came with all of this awesome material for you to pour over if you're just trying to learn how to fly a game. Only came on two 5.25 floppies.
Awesome.
What was funny that I saw when I was opening this box is Microsoft put the discs in this envelope, and you had to you had to read carefully. It's a license agreement, it's the EULA, and when you break the seal, you agree to the
You
EULA.
agree to it.
It's so like elegant and funny.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it's incredible that amount of work that had to have gone into building out that book for potential people who want to learn how to fly. It's crazy.
That is awesome. And I know just on the periphery, I've never really played a flight sim. And I know just offhandedly that those are very intense control-wise. And it sounds like it is quite the learning process to even get into one of those games. Is that accurate, would you say? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, it was probably easier to get into a flight sim, quite honestly, because the type of control surfaces that we had were pretty rudimentary. There wasn't like the fidelity of joysticks, the choice that you can have nowadays. It was really just, I think I flew this game with like a 2-button joystick, like a normal joystick. We went up to having the yoke and rudder pedals at some point when I was a kid, but a lot of the options were not there. So a lot of the stuff in the book is about flying. It's not really about the controlling of it. It's just how to get from point A to point B.
Wow.
Navigating and all that stuff. So
really cool.
Nowadays, it's some games are very complicated to get into, and I couldn't imagine getting into them now as a kid. I mean, you're a kid, you have a lot of time, but I have this whole background of the more simple games going up until now, where it's kind of second nature to me.
That's awesome. And I think the internet really squashed all this stuff. It became so much cheaper, and I get it. I'm not stupid. Capitalism is going to capitalism. So they're going to cut corners wherever they can. And booklets is just the next step. As we can see, the digital age is definitely going to overcome physical media pretty soon here. I believe Best Buy, like a month or two ago, said they were going to stop carrying physical media. And it's just a dagger to my heart. Anyone who enjoys buying movies or video games and having something to hold on to, those days are numbered. And if anything, these booklets were just good for introducing you to the characters you're going to meet or the monsters you're going to fight.
Yeah, the biggest problem with the way that gaming media is going is that we have no ownership over the media that we purchase. We are renting these games or leasing them from Steam.
Right.
And if Steam ever goes offline, we lose the access to those games. I mean, they may make a promise that they'll give you whatever, broken game, whatever, for the games or something like that. But, to hold a physical copy of the game, be able to install it on whatever machine you want to install it on, that is just, it opened up so many possibilities for kids who wanted to share it with their friends. The ability to have that community where you're kind of passing games back and forth and going over to a friend's house. You
would not learn about half the stuff you learned about if you didn't share games with your friends and go spend the night or have them come over and preview these games together or play them for the first time together. And while I understand the idea of cutting down on piracy and things like that, because Sega knows best. Every game on Dreamcast you could burn onto a CD and just give it back to the rental store. That I understand stuff like that, but as a whole, the idea of physical media going away is just such a downer, because every game now, I think it's a product of every game being developed. Like, content needs to be consistently and constantly coming out for the product that you've just purchased. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
The internet really made it a place where, you can share things and you can share ideas and information, but at the cost of making every game 300 hours because they don't know when to quit. And now, like you said, we're renting these things or leasing them instead of actually owning them. How many games do you have where you don't require an internet connection. And if you don't have that internet connection, you can't even log in or
Right.
play. And that's a shame. It really is.
Yeah.
But I won't go too far into that. We're talking about booklets today.
Yep.
One of my absolutes is, of course, my favorite game ever, Final Fantasy III for the Super
All right.
Nintendo. This is a big boy, and it's 82 pages.
Is that like a supplementary, or did it come with?
It came with the cartridge, and it's
Oh wow.
chock full of information, item list breakdowns, what everything does, how you control things, this was the introduction of the active time gauge. So you could actually see when your characters would be up next for combat. It has a small short breakdown in the front, kind of telling you what the story is and where it's going to start off.
That's awesome art.
Yeah. Yeah. Amano is one of the best artists. He's a big favorite of mine. But it also has, because it is an RPG, it has character descriptions and bios for each character. It has, I believe, a mini, not like a walkthrough, but it's like, hey, this is where you need to go for the first quarter of the game. This is kind of a linear path. You should, if you're having trouble, this is where you can look to get some nudge in the right direction, which is always helpful in an RPG. And then, aside from the booklet, it came with a world map for the game itself, which also has a backside to it, which is called the World of Ruin, which you don't really know what you're getting into when you start the game, but then halfway through the game, you realize that the world as you knew it has been destroyed. So that was kind of a spoiler, but very cool.
Yeah.
You have a map of the entire planet for both the first world and the second world, and you can find everything that way. So that's just a joy to look at when you're a kid, and it's done beautifully. This is not the artwork from the game, so they had to spend extra time designing the map for the cartridge itself. Yeah, it's just great stuff.
Yeah, what I really like about those early games, SNES and NES and booklets that come out of there, especially NES games, is the difference between the art rendition in the booklet and the pixel that you get on screen. It's great to have the actual artist what they thought was this creature was going to look like.
This is what this looks like, and then you get it on screen, and not quite.
Not so much. But it evokes that imagination that you can plug in when you're playing the game, and it gives that story a little bit more meat on the bones, I think.
Absolutely.
One fun thing about flight sims, because most of the stuff I have in front of me, like I said, is flight sims.
Absolutely.
Back in the day when keyboards were a lot more standardized, you would get these overlays for keyboards for keybinds.
Oh, okay.
So you can know what your F keys do, F1 is flare, F2 is chaff, that kind of thing. They had to include one for different types. So this was for an IBM 101, Tandy 1000,
Tandy,
all these different types. But yeah, that was for this game, which is interesting in and of itself. F-19 stealth fighter.
Awesome.
The F-19 is an airplane based on the rumors about the F-117. So the F-117 Nighthawk was being developed in the 60s and 70s, but obviously it was very top secret. And some journalist or somebody got a source from the inside about some of the characteristics of the stealth fighter. And then I think who did it? It was one of the Tesco or Testers maybe. One of the model making companies put it upon themselves to take those specs and make a rendition of what they thought the stealth fighter would look like.
That's awesome.
And it turned into the F-19, which isn't what the F-117 looks like. It's a very smooth body,
right?
Kind of spaceship looking. I had a diecast model of it when I was a kid. and it's just an interesting like lore thing where they had all this speculation about what this next generation fighter was going to be like, and somebody had to throw it into a flight sim. And then, I mean, the manual is not chintzy. It's a 160-page manual talking about here's a list of surface-to-air missiles, that their search range, their guidance, their firing guidance, all this crap.
That's awesome.
Just like for an airplane nerd, for a kid, it even had carrier landings, which the F-117 definitely couldn't do. But for a kid who was into airplanes, it was just everything just absorbed into this kind of stuff.
The bee's knees, you might say.
Yeah. And just to kind of round off some of the other games I have that were flight sims, at least, not going to the other two that I have here. There's Strike Eagle. These are also, both of these were Micropros, which was one of the best companies, developers, especially for flight sims.
Absolutely.
They were the flight sim developer back in the day.
Yeah, Micropros was big. Even I knew about
Yeah. And they were trying to make a comeback. I don't know. They had a couple games coming out recently. One was like a kind of a retro flight sim game. But I don't know it's like the corpse of Micropros. I don't know if anyone involved in the original Micropros is still in it, but I don't even know who they're owned by. I think they're owned by Atari.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. I don't know for sure, but
yeah, just another like great manual talking about flight maneuvers, the missiles you'll fire from the F-15, all that kind of stuff. And last but not least is probably the GOAT original flight sim from Dynamix, which is another company that was great, was the Red Baron.
Nice.
The original Red Baron. This manual is awesome because it has just probably 50 to 60 pages worth of history about World War I dogfighting.
Wow.
And then it has these beautiful, like, full color pictures of fighters. It has historical missions. Very little of it has anything to do with the actual game and controls. It's all just history. Some like little stories about missions that that happened in the war to aces. Specs for all the airplanes. And flight maneuvers you can do, combat maneuvers.
Unreal.
Just everything. It was one of my favorite flight sims growing up. It's just such a great game, and it's books like this just don't exist, especially for flight sims. Flight sims nowadays, they're so studied, like DCS, which is kind of the main combat flight simulator, is basically a study sim, so it's as realistic as possible.
Gotcha.
So every single airplane would need a manual probably this size or bigger just to go over all of the systems, not even to go over flavored text or whatever.
Right.
So it's a booklet for DCS would probably be like multiple volumes of pages just in the actual technical specs, which is probably why they don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But
how many trees died for this game?
Yeah, I know exactly. But simpler games like VTOL VR, which is considerably more simple controls, could definitely get away with a booklet with some little history or whatever.
See, with stories, literal history being typed up in these things, it's more than just a game, ladies and gentlemen. It's a history lesson in dogfighting, and you learn a little something about where we were as a world during World War I and II. These things are very important, and they're going away.
Yeah,
we could learn so much in the printed media that could come with video games, but no, we just choose not to do it. Well, those were impressive. Those were absolutely massive books. I don't have anything that big, but that is
the flight sim world for you.
Yeah, that's so intimidating, but that's so cool because there's so much in there that you can just dive into and really sink your teeth into, even if it's got nothing to do with the game. You're just like, hey, I'm interested in planes, and it's like a bonus on top of the game you bought. So it's just something you can enjoy hours worth of content.
There's something to be said for the fact that I played Microsoft Flight Sim. I think probably not the original, but I think I played like probably 95, 2000 religiously for a long time, up until Flight Simulator X, up until the newest one. That when I got my pilot's license, I got it so quickly, and I was able to breeze through ground school because some of the things in those games and those booklets were applicable to real life.
Yeah.
And even if they're not fully accurate or don't have the entire details for everything you need, it's a jumping off
They
point
still
where
tried. I mean, that's the whole idea, is to give those people the feeling of being in a cockpit and actually doing what the military does or pilots themselves do. So I think that's
right.
I totally understand how that would be a jumping off point. Very cool. Well, it would not be a complete episode if I did not bust out my Dune 2 manual, since we love RTS at this podcast. But this one, a good amount of history.
What do they have in that? There must be some wacky stuff in there.
A little bit. They have made up lore because it's set thousands of years before the book and the movies. So they didn't really want to be tied to anything because they didn't have the time to make it, accurate to the deep writings of Frank Herbert. But, they have backstory on the characters, the mentats who guide each house. They have planet information on Caladan, Gidi Prime, and then the made-up House Ordos, which do not exist in the actual books. But then they have a breakdown of every constructible item in the game, complete with what type of building it is, the armor level of it, if it has any armaments, and what kind of generators, which has nothing to do with the game itself. It's just made up information, but it's still kind of cool. How much refineries hold, how many credits you can get per load. And this, while very informative and interesting to look at, was also a way to prevent piracy. So at the end of the second level, your mentat will come to you and say, there's a traitor among us, and we need you to help sort this out. And if you can't answer this question, you're in league with him. And he would show you a picture. What type of unit is this, or what type of structure? And if you didn't have this book and you didn't type it in exactly as it's listed, you would get kicked out of the game. So
that's amazing.
So they do that once at the second level and then once at the end of the game, so you can't experience the whole thing if you didn't buy it. But it was cool. Very, very clever way to do that. And they didn't have a real shareware version of this, I don't think. But just it goes into detail of everything on your screen, your command window, your radar, what everything does, how you kind of navigate the RTS genre. Because while they did exist, this one really kind of took it to the real-time aspect. I think it was probably one of the first that was not turn-based. It really brought a lot of styles from like Civilization and other games and melded it into this thing that would become what is delightfully known as the granddaddy of all RTS games. And they would go on to great acclaim with Command and Conquer after this. So
I love the anti-piracy thing, because it only works when nobody has internet.
Exactly. Now it's like, well, whatever. I'll just go online.
Go on Reddit. Which the name on the second page?
Yep. That's a good time. But they had to be clever with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I totally appreciate that they took the time to do something like that. There's even a production photo of the team. It's like 7 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 8 people.
Yeah.
And it's just a blast. But yeah, I mean, there were other games that did it. I think Doom was one of them. There was a shareware version, but it had this snarky message at the end of the trial, and it's like, if you want to experience all of hell, go buy the game or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this one because it actually, they put it into the game that even as little impact as it has, it was just kind of like, oh, there's a traitor among us, and you need to answer a question that only you would know. And
yeah.
So I thought that was kind of fun.
Well, the last one I have here is Colonization, the original Sid Meier's
There you go.
Colonization, which is a great little book. Just it's a lot of actual gameplay stuff that then gets expounded into how it actually worked in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is probably, although I haven't really read it through recently, but I would imagine it's probably somewhat problematic nowadays because it was, talking about colonization and the Native Americans, and it was written in 1994. So yeah,
couldn't have been too bad.
Well, but then I also have when I got Civ 6, kind of the last dying breath of physical media, I got the collector's edition.
Oh, nice.
Which has this art book of Civ games from
awesome,
throughout the years of the 25. This is a 25-year anniversary one, so it's nice. Like these little art books that you just get in a little collector's edition. Also have the really badly struck commemorative coins that are really awful.
Well, that's another episode. The best box sets of the world.
Oh yeah. I don't buy too many of them. Like I said, this one is one, the Civilization 25th anniversary, and then the World in Conflict. I had the special edition.
Nice.
But yeah, really, I never really bought special edition games. But yeah, just a little art book that you can get in a collector's edition that you can kind of skim through and have on your coffee table or whatever.
Yeah, they used to do so much, and it was so fun to look at. They put a lot of effort into making this something that you could research before you played or while you played, and I think that was fun. A lot of the a lot of the games would have codes in the background where you could, on the back flap, like a Castlevania game, if you get a game over or you want to stop, they would give you a code on a grid of symbols, and you would write them down in the back of your manual, so you'd always have it, and just stuff like that.
Save game. Yeah.
And there are, I don't remember the game itself, but there are games out there where if you don't have the manual or the strategy guide, you're not going to beat it. And it's like, they just put so much care into this stuff, and it was really fun to search out those secrets with your friends or on your own. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I hope someday, I know limited run games, they do their best at providing special editions of some of your favorite games with that kind of stuff. They would give you an old-timey box for a brand new game or something. And they're doing the Lord's work as best they can, but they are pricey.
I think there's something to be said for the fact that even though it wouldn't be physical, there are definitely ways of doing something similar in the modern day, where you have maybe and some developers do it, where they have those those websites that don't necessarily have anything to do with the game, but then they end up actually what they're called.
I know what
off the top of my head,
I know what you're talking about.
But they have those, or just having ways for fans to interact with the game and have their own stories. I mean, Helldivers is kind of doing that now, where everybody, it's such an ingrained and community-driven game now that people are making up their own little stories about what's happening, and that kind of thing can also kind of give you this similar feeling without having to have the physical media. Although having the physical media is nice, just to not have to stare at a screen all day.
Yes, very much so. There are those companies, like you're saying, that do try to make the other media surrounding their games more engaging and more interesting, something that you want to go to. A lot of, like, I can't tell you the last time I went to the official site for a video game or a company that makes games, because I can get it anywhere, and it's not interesting at that point. The basics of video games and the lore, it's always provided by someone else, which I think is unfortunate, because unless you want to stare at a screen all day and read context or content or have it spoken to you by a character or a voiceover, if it's done in a story of a game, that can be helpful. But, if you want to dive deeper, I don't want to go to Google to figure out the answer. I want to hold something in my hand and read about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the episode for today. I don't want to belabor the point, but we thought it would be pretty fun to do this because, I'm 39.
Yeah, I'd be curious to... I know, we're getting old.
Getting old.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what people, what kind of manuals you still have around that you kind of kept because they, meant something to you, or you had some attachment to the material, and what you kind of missed from that. Yeah,
throw it on Facebook. We have a great Facebook page where you can post anything. We try to engage as much as possible, but it would be great to hear. And John, if you are done today, please say goodbye to our lovely audience.
Well, I'll see you at the library, I guess.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did. Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, we like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.